The steel gate shut so hard that the sound ran through the whole hallway like thunder. Every head turned. Inside Los Angeles County Jail, late-night count had just begun when shouting broke out near the lower tier. Deputies rushed toward the noise. Radios crackled all at once. Inmates stepped back from the bars because everyone knew that when officers moved that fast, something bigger than a normal fight was happening. Deputy Ryan Carter reached the corner first. A young inmate from Inglewood was on the floor near the wall, hands raised, while two deputies stood over him arguing with another officer. But what froze Carter was not the inmate. It was the voice he heard from behind him. "Turn that camera angle away." The order came quietly, almost like a suggestion. Deputy Matt Doyle said it without looking up. And Carter knew immediately why that mattered. Because the camera above that corridor covered one of the few blind spots deputies had argued about for years. That same blind spot had appeared before in complaints, reports, and oversight hearings tied to allegations that secret deputy groups inside the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department protected each other through silence. Some called them deputy gangs. Others called them cliques. Names had appeared for years, groups investigators said operated inside stations and jail divisions, with tattoos, loyalty tests, and unwritten rules. Now Carter stood inside a hallway where one deputy wanted the camera ignored. The inmate on the floor looked up and shouted, "You all work for them." Then the lights flickered. For 1 second, the entire lower tier dropped into half-darkness. And when power returned, another deputy was suddenly missing from the corridor. No one moved for a breath. Then alarms started. That moment would later appear in internal reports, but the real story had begun much earlier. Hours before midnight, Los Angeles moved the way it always did. Cars crossed freeways under yellow light. Helicopters moved above downtown. Sirens sounded somewhere far enough away that most people ignored them. Inside county jail, routine had already taken over. Count times. Meal times. Housing checks. The jail system is enormous. Thousands of inmates move through it from all across Los Angeles County, Compton, Inglewood, South Los Angeles, East LA, Long Beach. Some arrive after gang arrests. Some after probation violations. Some after violent charges. Inside, those outside neighborhoods do not disappear. They come inside too, through rivalries, alliances, and old names that still matter. Marcus Reed came in from Compton 3 days earlier on a probation hold tied to a weapons charge. He had already learned the first rule again. Inside county jail, watch deputies as closely as inmates. Because deputies controlled everything: doors, housing moves, access, timing. And some deputies seemed to control more than others. Marcus noticed Deputy Matt Doyle the first morning. Doyle did not need to raise his voice much. Other deputies shifted when he entered the floor. Younger officers stopped talking when he walked past. Even inmates noticed how often decisions changed after Doyle spoke quietly to another deputy. A housing move happened. A search started. A visit got delayed. Power looked small from outside. Inside jail, power often looked exactly like that. Deputy Ryan Carter had worked county custody 6 years and knew the stories. He had heard older deputies laugh off oversight hearings. He had heard supervisors say names without saying names. Executioners. Banditos. Spartans. Not official groups, never officially admitted as gangs, but repeatedly examined by county oversight bodies, lawsuits, and investigators who said certain deputy cliques acted like protected circles inside the department. Oversight officials later described patterns of silence that made discipline difficult. Carter usually stayed clear of those conversations. But lately something felt different. 3 weeks earlier, one deputy transferred from another unit had quietly warned him. If Doyle asks you not to write something down, write it down. That stayed with Carter. This morning began low and quiet. Breakfast trays moved through slots. Marcus sat at a metal table beside a younger inmate named Tyler from Inglewood. Tyler kept his voice low. You notice how one deputy talks and the rest stop moving? Marcus looked toward Doyle near the far desk. Don't say names loud. Tyler nodded. Across the floor, another deputy checked housing lists twice, then crossed out 2 names. Unexpected moves again. Marcus saw his own name shift from one row to another. Tyler's too. That happened often enough, but not without reason. Today no reason came. By mid-morning, 2 inmates from South Los Angeles arrived from intake and were placed directly near lower-tier cells. That added tension immediately because those placements crossed older neighborhood lines. Still no obvious conflict. Just silence growing thicker. Carter noticed another strange detail. A maintenance request had been filed for one lower-tier camera but marked incomplete. Yet the camera still blinked active. He checked monitor feed. The angle skipped every few seconds. Not dead. Just delayed. That mattered because delayed video creates uncertainty. And uncertainty helps nobody during investigations. He asked Doyle if maintenance had fixed it. Doyle answered without looking up. Camera's good enough. Good enough was not a phrase Carter liked inside county jail. Lunch passed quietly. Plastic trays. Metal benches. Soft radio calls. Then a low moment came that looked ordinary but changed everything. Marcus watched Doyle speak briefly to a deputy near intake paperwork. A folded paper changed hands. Fast enough most would miss it. Marcus did not. Neither did Carter from the desk monitor. He zoomed camera feed. The paper vanished into a clipboard. Again small. Again easy to ignore. But patterns matter. By afternoon, Tyler was removed for questioning after another inmate claimed someone had threatened him during shower line. Tyler returned an hour later quieter than before. Marcus asked what happened. Tyler only said, "Wrong questions." That answer stayed hanging in the air. Evening came slower. Outside, sunset faded behind narrow jail windows. Inside, fluorescent light made everything look the same hour after hour. Then lower-tier search orders began. 2 deputies searched cells one by one. Not random. Specific cells. Marcus noticed Doyle choosing order personally. One cell belonged to an older inmate from South Los Angeles named David Cole. Cole had filed complaints before, inmate said. Complaints about deputies during transport weeks earlier. Now his mattress was lifted. Legal papers checked. Property scattered. Nothing illegal found. Still, search lasted longer than others. Carter wrote that down. Because long searches without findings often lead somewhere else. Later, just before count, David Cole asked for medical. Denied. Asked again. Denied again. Then Doyle stepped near his bars and said something too quiet for Marcus to hear. Whatever he said made Cole step back immediately. That was the low before the high. At 11:14 p.m., count started. Doors locked. Tier quiet. Then shouting exploded near lower corridor. David Cole had been moved unexpectedly. Tyler too. Marcus stood at bars trying to see. Carter ran down the corridor. That was when he saw the young inmate on the floor and Doyle telling another deputy to ignore the camera angle. The words hit harder than the alarm that followed. Because Carter knew camera angles decide careers later. The inmate from Inglewood kept shouting. They run this place. They all know. Lights flickered. Power dipped. Then came the missing deputy. Deputy Elena Brooks had been standing near the side gate 1 second earlier. Gone the next. The corridor looked wrong instantly. Too many deputies. One missing. One inmate on floor. One blind spot near camera gap. Carter reached for his radio. No answer at first. Then Brooks' voice came faint through static from lower service passage. Need backup. Now. That service passage should have stayed locked. Carter and 2 deputies forced the side gate open. Inside the narrow service corridor, fluorescent lights buzzed weakly. Brooks stood near the wall, breathing hard. A steel access door behind her hung partly open. That door led toward maintenance stairs not used during inmate movement. And inside the stairwell, footsteps were running downward. Not deputies. Inmate shoes. Someone had slipped through during the blackout second. Doyle arrived seconds later. Too quickly, Carter thought. Almost like he knew exactly where to go. Seal stairwell, Doyle ordered. But Brooks looked at Carter instead of Doyle. And Carter noticed fear in her face, not confusion. What happened? Carter asked. Brooks answered quietly. Someone opened that door before lights went out. Who? She did not answer immediately. because Doyle was now standing beside them. Then from below, deep in the stairwell, something slammed hard against steel. One heavy impact. Then another. Carter looked down the dark stairs. A second voice rose from below. An inmate voice shouting one word over and over. "Tattoo! Tattoo!" No one moved for half a second. Then Brooks whispered so low only Carter heard. "He showed me his ankle." Carter looked sharply at Doyle. Doyle's pant leg had shifted slightly during the rush. Enough for ink to show near the sock line. A tiny symbol. Not large, but enough to match symbols Carter had once seen in Oversight photographs tied to deputy clique allegations. Doyle noticed Carter looking. And smiled once. Not friendly. Then the stairwell lights cut out completely. The shouting below stopped. And something began climbing upward in the darkness toward them.